Hello, everyone. We are at the Haunted Liberty Theater and Museum coming at you with Paranormal Theory. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Can you introduce yourselves and tell our viewers how y'all met?
Well, I'm Nick.
I'm Brent.
I'm Ryan.
And actually, we're best friends for, 10 plus years. Ryan and I went to high school together. Brent's a couple of years ahead of us. So we've been together for a while. Coming together to do this, Ryan and I started the group together. We wanted to join a team, and unfortunately, we couldn't really find anybody that was open to have us. So we were like, hell, we'll find some friends and make our own.
$80 camera, a cat ball, and a K2.
In
a dream.
And
Shoot for the stars.
I was going to say, how has that dream evolved over the years?
Crazy.
It's been a humbling experience, I'll tell you that, because you see people doing it, everything that we shoot for, trying to capture evidence and everything, meet people, networking, and the evidence that we capture, people watching it, and it's like, oh yeah, you're the guys who got the shirt pull, or you're the ones who heard the bang in Norwich. It's amazing to meet people at these conventions that recognize us from our work.
Well, it's probably really gratifying too to know that like your experiences are also something that someone else is taking with them. It's like they're carrying your experiences with them until they get to you.
Yeah, and we've even investigated a place that only Heather and Katrina investigated. So it's us and them, and it was neat because it the experiences were almost the same. But then we also have people who are interested in this place, like coming to us and asking, like, how was it? And, we get to tell the stories now.
Yeah. And what is it like to be the person that tells the stories that people come to?
It's, I tell people, like, a little bit about it, but I don't want to, like, set them up to where, if it's a slow night or something, and they're like, oh, well, we didn't experience that. Because, they're spirits and all that. They're not there for your entertainment.
Right.
It's like fishing. Sometimes you catch something, sometimes you don't.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. We like to hammer that point home all the time, is that the spirits are not there to entertain you. You're there at the right time and you happen to capture it, or you'll get an intelligent response. But yet again, they do use that energy to communicate with you, so you can't just keep going with it for hours. It's like, well, we've been here for 10 hours. So they're going to get tired.
Well, it's like you're their guests.
Exactly, that too.
So when you go into a location, what advice would you have for anyone in terms of being respectful and like how to interact with the spirits in an environment?
We're just say we're not here to cause any trouble. We just want to talk and communicate, know your story. And as long as you're just like respectful and calm, don't try and make it bad or nothing like that. Just nice, calm. You normally get good stuff.
You just talk to them like a normal human being.
Being respectful goes a long way.
Yeah.
And we actually seem to have noticed that the intention also makes a difference too. If you're going in and you actually are being respectful and want to know information, you seem to get more information than it's like you're going in just trying to debunk something or trying to make a point like, oh, this don't really exist. Well, it's going to show you that, okay, well, I don't have to prove myself to you. Bye. And that's it. You won't hear nothing all night.
Yeah. And I think really just giving yourselves up to whatever happens, right? Because I think that like the biggest thing is to go in there with expectations and that you're looking for them to get met. And then when they don't, people have really disappointing experiences. But really it's like, let's lay the expectations wherever they may lie, which is in the hands of the unseen.
It's so funny explaining like a paranormal investigation to someone who has never done one. Because they think it's like chairs flying everywhere and like these demonic creatures crawling up the walls, where really it's like you're sitting in a dark room for hours and maybe you get like 5 minutes of like activity or something like that. That's just how it goes sometimes.
That's one thing I got to give Ryan like kind of props for, because we do keep a lot of like our good evidence in there, but we also do keep a good amount of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So you do see that there is still a real kind of a real aspect to it, that it's not all entertainment all the time. It's you are there for 8 to 10 hours, and you might only get an hour, maybe two of full content. that you do compact down to 1 hour.
And it's more of an accurate experience too, because like you said, sometimes people have these preconceptions that like it's lit all the time, and it's like, no, that's not how it
It's
rolls.
actually very boring.
Right.
You have to get used to sitting in a dark, quiet room.
It comes in waves sometimes. too.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's
Well,
just-
and even if you're there for 10 hours, right? Even if you do get 1 hour, 5 minutes,
One
like
good
sometimes
thing.
that's enough to
Yes.
get you to the next investigation and the next event.
And I do like point that out all the time, is that when we get kind of slow investigations, I'm like thinking of the video, how it's going to go, and I'm like, we need that one thing to really grab it. And usually, as soon as I say it, something big always happens afterwards.
Well, usually it happens like when we do a solo.
That too, yes.
A lot of places seem to react better with more people and some with less people.
hmm
Like we were just at Norwich State Hospital, and of course I had to do the solo because I threw the X, and I did it in the lobotomy room. But it was funny because Norwich is like, it's a pretty dangerous place. I wouldn't recommend. One, we had permission to be there, so do not trespass. And two, anybody can walk in and all that.
I think that's probably the scarier part.
Yeah,
right?
so when I was doing the
Mhm.
solo, they were
Mhm.
standing at the front door. So they were like kind of like down the hall or whatever. But all the stuff that night when I was doing the solo happened to them.
Yeah.
At the
We
front
were
door.
doing-
So
and not
you
me.
all thought that he was going to get it, but it ended up backfiring.
I was in my safe little room. I was hearing noises. I'm like, you stay out there.
Well, that's what he says. He's like, all right, who's doing the actual solo here?
Right.
Us or you?
It didn't work.
So that's something that you do. You pick the ghost. If you have an X on the back, you get the solo. Who gets screwed with the solos most often, or is
Me.
it like a healthy bunch?
Me.
Yeah.
At the big scary place is me. I had
Yeah,
to do it at Trans-Allegheny. I had to do it at Norwich. You had. I'll give you credit for the body cooler. at
Yeah, I
Old
did the
Hospital
body
on
cooler.
College Hill.
Yeah, I actually got locked in the body cooler. I almost took a nap, but
Almost. Did they let you alone, or
okay. So I'll admit. So inside of the body cooler in our one video, there was 3 very distinctive knocks that were on the outside of the cooler, and I can't hear due to tinnitus and just being tone deaf. So I still say if I heard it, that reaction would have been really different
Mm-hmm. No, I'm sure.
because you're literally just like a little coffin box like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it
It's like,
takes
well,
isolated to like the next level,
Yeah.
really.
But we like to do that because we like to see how isolation and natural fear does that kick up paranormal activity and just the human emotions that go through with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the same sentiment of like Project Fear, Destination Fear. You
Yeah.
know, being able to just see how is that going to affect me psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically, all of those
Mhm.
things. Sometimes even spiritually.
Correct.
So, have your views changed over the years with your experiences? Like, has any views that you've had or beliefs been challenged with your experiences?
That's a good question.
So mainly that with the whole like, is there life after death? I know that's a lot of people's kind of questions, or there's like there's your religious outlook and then there's your non-religious outlook where it's literally it's like you're dead, that's it.
Right.
With being in this field, there's no doubt there is some type of life after death, or it's not the final step. Like
Mhm.
it might be eventually, but there's still a period where you're still here or somehow connected to this plane of Earth.
Yeah, like if there's a final stage,
Yes.
there's some other type of stage that comes before it.
Yeah, but I don't think maybe we're not meant to ever know that, like for facts.
Mhm.
But I just find it interesting to at least try to go and learn
Sure.
about it.
Mhm.
So maybe we're not even meant to know,
and that's
or
why,
we can't even comprehend it.
And that's why, like with us, with our name, it's literally, as Ryan said, there's really no facts. Everybody has their own theories about it, and everybody is constantly coming up with something that makes sense. But then the next person counteracts that,
Mhm.
so it's constantly just a base of new theories.
Well, and I think it like evolves, right?
Yes.
Like it just builds on one another. So, do you all have the same theory, or do you have different theories about the paranormal?
Ryan has one that's actually really interesting to me.
The past and future
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like a weird like time loop where for some reason that say you're doing like a spirit box session, my whole like thought was, what if you're talking to a future person who is also investigating or doing the same type of thing in the location that you are, or the past. Or then we had like the whole theory behind, to these spirits, does this place still look like a running theater? And like, are we like the ghosts to them?
Yeah.
Where it's like, for whatever reason, that little tiny moment where those two worlds like collide and that veil gets thin, like, do they think we're the spirits, or do they even? There's so many questions.
And that's the same thing, like we were saying in our last video, is like you have the REM pod, your music boxes, or any other bigger pieces of equipment, but then we have the dead bell and the candle that literally looks like a wax candle, but because they're so used to seeing those type of items, if they use those more because they're so familiar with it, which they have no clue what the other stuff is.
Right. And I think that they're like taking it a step further too, is like when you do have new equipment that is probably so foreign to any type of like older spirit, that it's taking the time to introduce them to these objects.
Well, the envoy for one, but even at the farmhouse when that came through the SB7, they were like, "What's that box?"
Yeah,
Talking
what's that
about-
box? And then we explained it, and then it said magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, a camera to them, this farmhouse was from the 1700s. We're coming in there with cameras and all this stuff. That probably looks like magic and like witchcraft and stuff to them.
Right. It's
And
like,
we've
who
gotten
are
a
these
lot.
warlocks coming in
Yeah.
here? Harry Potter 7.0 or something.
And that's what I like. I laugh a lot because when you get on like your spirit boxes, you get a lot of like devil or demon or something like that. If you actually think about it, these people or spirits are actually from a time period where certain stuff to them might actually be considered like demons. So there actually might be like, no, you're a demon, not me, you.
Right, if you're like mixing herbs in your kitchen or something and then using them under the full moon, someone's gonna be like, that lady. Yeah, right.
And that's it. It's just like, well, what happened here? It's just like, demon, get out. It's like, oh, is there a demon here? No, you are.
And even though we are YouTubers, now that you're bringing up the whole D word, everything is not a demon.
Right?
Yeah.
Stop. And we're big on that. We're very careful about when we use it, if we ever do. And the only time we would use it is when there's already, say, like the Garnett House and all that, where it's like, I wouldn't say fact, but it's well known that, okay, there might be something demonic.
The experience that
Then,
you could get
then yes, I'll use that word. But just because you got scratched or whatever doesn't mean it's a demon.
Like I said, I've gotten scratched in Penhurst where there's nothing bad like that there.
No.
But yet again, knowing the history with being in a place with nonverbal, and these people are just flailing around, it's like, unfortunately, they can't express that they're in pain or suffering. So unfortunately, you're going to get clawed, and that's where you can get some of these scratches from. It's like, well, that's the only way I can talk to you.
Well, and what do you think about, a theory that I've been like introduced to, like with the egregores, right? Like if you tell a story enough, you're gonna create it. And so have you then in 1920, they're like, oh man, they told that story then because we're doing it now. How much does that affect all of that?
Podcast exclusive right here.
Hot drop.
Yeah, we are going to work on a project like that.
Yeah.
We're going to collab with these other creators, and we are going to basically see if we put so many people in a location, say for like a week or something, and we want all their intentions and their thoughts and their actions to go towards this made up being. Can we make that being quote unquote real?
There's actually Becca's gonna kill me whenever she sees this, but she's Canadian, and there's a Canadian experience that have done this exact same thing.
Maybe that's what I was trying to.
I can't remember what the experiment is called, but they gave him like a script about like a man who went to war. I don't know, something like that. I'm probably making up the story as I go. But it was that same concept of like, here's the script, you bring that to life, and then we're gonna test the theory. I don't remember what those results were, so maybe this is because we need to see your results too. But I think that would be so cool because if everything is all like maybe energy based or whatnot, who's to say we can't create it?
Yeah, I mean, as powerful as the human mind is, And as much as that we don't know about our own mind, like I see it as plausible.
Oh yeah, and especially like even like they say like when you're in like poor health or you get diagnosed with something, it's like just don't tell me, because when you find out, then you start succumbing to it. It's just like I'm slowly passing away or this and that. It's like if I didn't know, I would have been fine. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. It's like your mind plays into it, so it'll make it happen.
Absolutely. And I think too that like some people would say, right, like, no, I don't care. I'll go 7. I can go on with it and that won't affect me. Or you could tell me anything and I wouldn't be afraid of it. But there's something out there for everybody that's gonna push some of those buttons.
Normally there's a lot of people that don't do it. When you're put into a situation in a room and then you're just feeling you charge and then it's just your stomach flip, then stuff normally happens.
And it's actually great is because Brent's actually a new member of our team. He has been in a couple of our videos, but he has been now brought into the team fully. It's good to see him because Ryan and I have experienced paranormal activity for years now, like before we even started doing this, and seeing him come into it and picking up on signs that we've known and actually like been accustomed to, and him picking it up right out of the gate is interesting to see and know that you and I are actually really feeling it when people who don't have the same knowledge and experience can pick it up.
Well, and with the unknown, it's hard to have that validation.
Correct.
And especially when you're using your own bodies as like your best tool. My tool is my best tool. Your body is your best tool. And when we have similar experiences, it's like you can't really refute that.
Those feelings were instilled in us in the caveman days for survival. So when people, get like their hair standing up and they're like, I feel like someone's like watching, someone probably is.
Yeah.
That feeling isn't just random.
Have you come like through a lot of skeptics like on your videos and whatnot?
We've had trolls and all that. But
Yeah.
I don't think they realize that like you're commenting and you're disliking. YouTube doesn't see it as a negative; it sees it as a positive. Because so like this guy was just like making fun of like cat balls or something. Like, dude's 55 years old. Like, stop worrying about it. Like, go dip into Social Security or something. But
gotta wait till 60.
But it's like he made like a whole argument with himself over like us using a cat ball as a tool or whatever. But that's with any of the equipment. It's just a tool. Not every time it goes off is paranormal.
Correct.
And we like to try to use logic and science to kind of debunk what's going on. But then we've done that where we can't figure out using science and logic about what just happened, and then that's how you truly get great paranormal evidence.
And you're more credible that way too, because as soon as something happens, if you're telling a story about it, and you're not trying to figure out like, where'd that come from? Did you say that? Was that your stomach that gargled that I just heard? At 3 a.m. when you're freaking hungry and about to DoorDash.
Yeah, we'll tell people we're YouTubers, and they're like, ugh. Like, no, we don't scream every time a REM pod goes beep.
And it's funny because a lot of people that actually watch our videos, they'll actually look to me to see if I react, because if I react, then they know something's actually happening. Because I won't move unless it's actually something that like my mind can't figure it out immediately. Our first Norwich video that we had, he's got a slam on a door that's right behind his head, and I heard the slam. And I actually sat there and processed. I'm like, okay, is it an animal? Is it a person trying to break in? And the girl that used to be on our team, she started screaming and took off. But the thing was that I sat and thought about it so much, I actually thought she saw somebody before I even said anything. Wow. But no, it was just something banged on the door behind us. And we opened that door, and it's literally like a rubble pile. Like, there's nothing there. Yeah, so
I go off at him. Yeah, he starts being like, all right.
And you're like, all right, it's pretty real.
When that happened, I've never gotten across the room faster. Yeah, I think I took maybe 2 steps, and I was like on the other side. And like I'm all like giddy and excited and all that, because that was, and then that's when the shirt pull happened that we caught on video. My shirt got like yanked. Yeah. And luckily I was standing right in front of the camera when it happened.
Well, because a lot of the time it's like you can have experiences you're not caught on camera.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that like most of my stuff, I can go back and watch it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Because it happened when we weren't really doing anything. So
it happens a lot.
how do you, I mean, or maybe you don't, right? Like there are skeptics, there are people that are like, this is a bunch of horseshit. Do you ever like feel compelled to say, no, it's real, here you go? Or do you just let your work speak for you?
We let the work, and we have enough credibility with it, and people have watched the videos, try to debunk it. We've talked to owners of the properties, people that have been to the properties more times than they count to admit, and they're like, I've never seen that. I know exactly where that's at in the building. There's no way there's light coming through there. There's no way that you can manipulate that to make it fake. It's like Trans-Allegheny. Him and I were on the 4th floor where Nick Roth had the full body apparition. We were aiming a camera down the hallway. Him and I walked away, and 2 eyes just spawned in the middle of the hallway.
Yeah,
And-
it like turned.
Yeah.
Like kind of ducked behind, like back in the thing.
It was because you could see where it was in the frame, so it was further up the hallway. You see the eyes pop up, and they dim out. We talked to.
When you're on the 4th floor,
yes.
up there is like pitch black.
Yes.
So anything that you're going to see, you're going to probably look.
And we weren't using any light at that time. We were shooting it all IR.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we talked to the tour guide who's been doing that tour for almost 15 years. He says it's impossible for light to get up that high.
Mhm.
And where that window is up there, it's low. And there's a fan that's kind of in that same window. So there's no way for that to come out with 2 perfect circles at that height to then fade in and out.
And if you look at it, like for anyone wondering, if you do check out our stuff, you'll see that short. If you watch it real closely, the eyes appear, and it almost looks like the rest of like the shoulders, and then the body start to kind of appear like in this white like kind of mist, but then it like ducks behind and then just gone.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's like one of the more compelling pieces of evidence that you have?
That and the shirt.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And the cat ball flying off the table. When
Yes,
we're like,
from
knock
Brett.
something off the table. There goes a cat ball.
That was from the Grand Midway. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to get in there, just mostly because of all of the rooms. Even if I didn't have to do
Such a cool
investigation,
place.
just to go and just sit in each
Sleep,
room and let it.
sleep in the canopy room.
Why?
Just do it.
I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah. You want good content? How bad do you want your content?
It's like, do you want to see spirits or no?
That's what I tell them. The biggest rule: I don't care what happens to me. Film it.
So you're just like the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Well, he's done all the solos on our big scary places, Trans-Allegheny, Norwich. So he's got the big
I
ones.
did another solo. I can't remember where I did. I did the farmhouse. Was there any others?
You have the experience to be able to just, let's go out there. You've done it, 2 times, 3 times.
Yeah,
5
but
times,
it doesn't get any easier.
No.
It's all fun and games until like usually we'll have someone walk with the person who's doing the solo, help them set up the room. We'll do a wide angle camera, make sure all the stuff's good, and then when they walk away and like that light dims out, and then it's like just you and the
You
pitch
realize
black.
it's
It's like, all right,
Mhm.
hi spirits. Like, I'm only here for a half hour. Be nice.
Do whatever you gotta do.
And everybody that says it's like hallways with a lot of doors is kind of comforting
No.
because you could like see it. No, because when he was in Trans-Allegheny, every single door was open. It was like literally funneling him down the hallway.
Well, tell them what word that was. I didn't
yeah.
know it until after.
Yeah,
Thank God.
Yeah,
It's a criminally insane word.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you're just left there to,
I should have
Be to be.
realized it because right before Nick left, he's like, Ryan, look at this room, and right behind me there's this like steel cage that goes from the floor to the ceiling with like a chair that's bolted to the floor, and I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Right, like, what would they use this for?
Yeah, and then a little later I'm like, they probably didn't put the best people in that. That would explain why it's set up that way.
You're like, that's why I only do this for 30 minutes, because by the time I figure it out at minute 30,
Yeah.
I want to be done.
Yeah, something. They put somebody in there.
Well, you all have heard it here first, all of the different theories. And if you're by yourself, don't go for any longer than 30 minutes. Tell them where they can find all your videos, your socials.
So YouTube, paranormal_theory. Instagram is paranormal.theory. Facebook is paranormal theory. And TikTok is paranormal Theory.
And we're going to test those all out whenever I find them and put them in the description. So we'll see if they all match. But click on the links here and you'll be able to see their videos and see what's more to come for Paranormal Theory here.
So Norwich videos coming up next.
Yep, two
It's
of them
crazy. Crazy.
back to back.
So it'll be the first night is the orphanage in the Lippitt building. Then the second night is Pondview, Nurses Ward, and Lippitt again.
And that's where the viewers will find a little bit of my dark past.
Crazy.
Yeah, no,
Crazy.
Yep.
Okay, now you have to watch because you need to figure out what's his dark past. I'm going to be watching. I need to know.
That one makes a surprise visit, and I thought it was gone.
Now I'm really intrigued. I'm so super intrigued. So watch along with me and we'll figure it out with them. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for following along.